So, whatever we have learned, and if you find some changes in your behavior and attitude, then obviously these sessions are definitely for you to move into a little higher state of consciousness, what we call the spirituality. But we have to get rid of this delusion. As we continue the practice, and by the knowledge we remove the layers of the ignorance, we find that the delusion starts dissolving. And it is always here and now. Can we see the clay and the clay pot together? But we are normally focused on the clay pot. Can we see the water with the waves also? Not get lost with the waves alone. Clay is the essence, water is the essence. Same way, consciousness is the essence. This beard, name, and the form does not have any essence because it is constantly changing. Oh, I'm the most beautiful person in this world. That is constantly changing. Behind that, there is a consciousness. So I simply remember and remain aware of that fact that anything in the world of the name and the form, behind there is a consciousness. Can I use the word you try to see? No, you just become aware. What is behind that? We forget to see the essence. Why we forget to see the essence? Because we are carried away by the name and the form and attributes of the name and the form. Whether it's a Miss Universe, Mr. Universe, an African guy or an American guy, or any guy, any person, behind that, there is a one common. What is common is the consciousness. We forget that. And we are lost. So that very forgetting the essence is the delusion. Why we are lost? Because of the delusion. Same answer. Terry has, okay. Terry has to. Terry will do it. Yeah, I know. So because of the delusion, we forget the essence and we are caught into the delusion. That is what we have been learning during the last couple of weeks. Delusion caused by the ignorance. Delusion caused by the ignorance continues suffering in our life. Spirituality or a self-discovery is the way to discover the ultimate cause. That is what is known as the spirituality. Yeah, take your time, Terry. Terry had just started broadcasting, so that's why she has not to do it. It's okay. So, if I am aware that I am separate, different from any name in the form, including the name in the form is here, I can be aware of that. World of the name in the form causes the delusion that works for real self. But remember, this world of the name and form will continue to exist. It will never be gone. Even if we say it is a false, it will never be gone. I have to become aware, name in the form plus consciousness. What is the mistake and the delusion? We think, we believe that the real self works for the name and the form. We think that that consciousness is working for my ego, for my name, for my form. But fact is the opposite. We have started a new series from this text. I'm just giving an introductory sessions, and then we will directly go to the text. In a rosary, we have hundreds of beads, but that very thread is not seen. But we know there is a thread which is keeping the rosary all together. That is what the consciousness is. It is always there. Name and the form, the bead will come and go. Why it happens, the delusion comes because we are caught. We are caught with the different attributes of the sense organs coupled with the mind. We get attached, and that attachment creates a false reality. Creates a false reality. Shabdadibhi panchavireva pancha. It's such a beautiful verse. Comes from this another text. What it says, we have the five sense organ. Aim is to evolve. Means what? We have each sense organ. Behind that, there is a consciousness, but we get carried away by all the five sense organs. Taste, sound. There's a natural way of growing vertically, and there is unnatural way of growing horizontally. That is because of one of the sense organ of the taste. Did you get it? We increase our weight, and then we say, oh, I have started taking veggie, I have reduced my weight. What is the message? You see, this verse says, this master has chosen the five animals: the deer, the elephant, the moth, the fish, and the black bee. A deer follows the sound of its calf and becomes a prey. An elephant is enslaved by its touch behind the head and gets caught. Have you seen those who control the elephant? A moth is driven to the flame by its sight and killed. A fish is baited by its longing for the taste. And a bee loses its life when it gets trapped inside the flower. That is the delusion. That is why we discussed about attachment and detachment. That is why we discussed about ignorance. That is why we discussed about the impurities of the mind. So now look at these five animals. The master is saying that each animal has only one strong sense organ. We all have five strong sense organs. It is easy to get trapped. Very easy to get trapped. But at the same time, the consciousness is already there. I am plus consciousness. You are beautiful plus consciousness. I simply need to be aware. The moment I forget it, why I forget? Because I am entrapped by any of these sense organs because of the name and the form, and it begins the journey of the delusion. Pay attention again. I'm just laying an introduction to this text, such a beautiful text. And if you are ready, if you are really a seeker, it hammers on your head. In one sense, if I say, it abuses our mind. This master says, hold the mind under your control. Otherwise, this delusion will continue to cause us a lot of challenges and problems in our life. Mirage water. I have explained you a couple of times. Blueness of the sky. The sun is clouded. The snake in a row. This is all a delusion. So we are shown that the mirage water, if you approach the mirage water, it does not exist. Same way, my mind says I am the body. So when a close examination is done, when I become aware, body continues to exist. The metaphor is not very, uh, why we give the metaphor? Because metaphor gives a similar, almost equal understanding. Almost equal means it is not always equal. So because I get trapped, because I'm the body, when I continue to live into the higher level of awareness, body continues to exist. What is that delusion? I am the body, that delusion is gone. That is the meaning of these examples. That's why I know I'm laying an introduction. I am angry, delusion. I am agitated, delusion. Even I'm extremely tired, that is a delusion. We have to work on that. The master says you have to hammer this delusion. How you have to hammer that delusion? Hold on. Remember, recall, repeat. What to repeat? Just let me become aware what I'm doing. To whom I am getting upset, to whom I am becoming angry. Am I becoming angry and agitated over the name and the form, which I call my son and daughter and my honey? Behind that, there is one consciousness. Behind that, there is only one consciousness. You cannot manage your anger. Anger cannot be managed. But when the delusion that I can become angry is gone, is understood clearly, there is no anger. There is no stress. There is no anxiety. There is no duality. I believe you all are getting it. We're going deeper. Delusion creates a big gap between the goal of life. Goal of life is the self-discovery and the way of life. The way of life means the lifestyle. Way of life continues to live in ignorance. Intellectually, we know the goal of life is the self-discovery. The way of the life continues to help us to live in the delusion, and we get carried away by the sense of attachment, ignorance, and the impurities of the mind. And then we say, where is the real self? Where is the real self? We have to hammer. Master says we have to hammer this ignorance. When? All the time. Where? In all the locations. All the time, in all the locations, in all the relationships. How you have to hammer? You have to hammer in your mind through the intellect. What is the key of hammering? Discernment and dispassion. How simple it is to say, you see the waves plus water. You see every human being plus consciousness. You see your honey plus consciousness. You see yourself, body, it's okay. Body, mind, intellect, ego, plus consciousness. That ego will drop down. So we discussed about the ego is caused by the three gunas, and that veils our real nature. So why I said the goal of life is the self-discovery, the way of life is a constant outpouring of thought, speech, and action in our daily life. Whether you are living a personal life, family life, professional life, social life, it doesn't matter. Personal life plus our consciousness. Social life plus consciousness. Without consciousness, body is gone. That is the ultimate cause. We feel the body is the ultimate cause. My beauty is the ultimate cause. Beauty is going down. It demands a lot of contemplation and reflection every moment in your life that makes your life a joy of conscious living. And then what happens? That real self comes in the front. Then you recognize that everywhere there is only one real self. If not, if there is a gap between the goal of life and the way of life, what will happen? Emotional dependence, intellectual fantasy, intellectual paralysis. Why don't you understand? I have a lot of pain and problems in my life. Oh, how the pain has, where the pain is. Oh, I have pain in the knee. Okay. So you are the knee. That is why you have pain. It doesn't mean that I should not go to the doctor. Let me take the treatment, but at the same time, I have to maintain my awareness. This consciousness is totally separate from this body, mind, intellect, all the thoughts, feeling, associations. If it is not done, then we will continue to suffer. I told you I'm just laying an introduction hammer on the delusion. Because if I directly start teaching from the text, it will not make a sense. Or you will get upset. Buddha says that this delusion is one of the three poisons in our life. Buddha also says delusion can only be removed by understanding, by knowledge. There is no other way. You do the breathing, you do the mantra, you do the practice. No, I follow that religion or I follow that cut, it will never happen. It can only be removed by understanding intellectually, then allowing that knowledge to pass on to your life. Why we give so much of stress on the delusion? Because the delusion hides the real nature. It gives me a mistaken identity. I'm a teacher. So I'm a teacher, I'm just at the higher level of you. That is a mistaken identity. One guy was telling me, look at, my honey, I have asked my honey to attend the session. She is not attending. Let's see that she is living in such a lack of awareness. You need not to think about others. You need to think about yourself. Are you getting it? These are very small bites of delusion. What will happen? The ego will say, you see that I'm living at a higher awareness because I'm attending the session and my honey is not attending. There should not be even a slight duality in our mind to tap that consciousness which we call the real self. That is why we have been doing the purity of the mind. Any mistaken identity in my mind through the thought, through the speech and action will hide the real self. That is why we say it is an error in perception. We will continue to use you are my honey, son, father, daughter, but internally I am aware. Internally I am aware of that. There is an internal awareness. For the sake of convenience, I have to live my life, family life, personal life, professional life, but internally I am fully aware. I don't have any mistaken identity. There is no error in perception. There is no sense of emotional dependence on what is not. What is not? Delusion. This delusion, you can say, there's a false impression, there's a false belief. It will definitely prevent the realization. That is why we have done purified the mind. So if you feel that that level of awareness is not there, you have to go back to those previous sessions, listen to it, understand it, prepare a note, and contemplate on that. Understand the delusion, or which is known as the moha, is not as something which is a lack of worldly knowledge. No, I don't know. So, for example, I don't know the science. So, it is not a delusion, but it is the ignorance of ultimate cause, ultimate reality. And that ultimate reality is the real self. In the presence of the delusion in the mind, I cannot recognize the real self. I will continue to see it as the waves. I will continue to see it as a clay pot. I don't see the clay. I will continue to see the sun as clouded. I will not recognize it is because of the presence of the sun. I see the clouded. Delusion causes unwanted worries. Unwanted worries. It invites the worries. Because, he has insulted me. I went to him. I also gave him a gift, and now he is mistaken identity. You give the gift to someone for the sake of a gift, not out of the ego. You married because of your interest. No, I'm taking care of you. No, not at all. I'm giving a lesson because I'm selfish. Can I accept that? You spare your time, maybe 1 hour, attend the session. Can I see from that perspective of life? These are very subtler layers of the delusion. I'm using a little the words from these teachings of this text. He says it is foolishness. It is purely an emotional dependence. It is purely an intellectual paralysis. If you are suffering, if you claim that you are suffering from depression, anxiety, duality, it is just an intellectual paralysis. You claim you understand, but you don't understand. It is a fantasy. It is confusing. It is also, Master says, it is an infatuation. We talk of infatuation at the sensual level. No. He says it is infatuation. Because of the infatuation, because that some expectations are not met in the world, in your relationship. So you are infatuated with that desire. It is not only the sensory. So because of that infatuation, it clouds the mind, and then I start feeling I'm in stress. It it gives a puzzling state of the mind. That is why the master says this delusion is false. Is false. I told you before also. Have you received any SMS, email, or message from anyone saying that whenever you meet me, get angry, get upset? Anyone? Have you received until today? And still I get upset. Still I get angry. Still I react. Delusion. So if I have not changed, even after these sessions, I don't see the change, then what happens? Then there is a problem. Problem in my mind. And that is what we have covered until the last session. Yes, I'm just reminding you ignorance, impurity, and the I sense, false I lives on this body of name and the form. First, it lives that I am the body, then I am the mind, then I am intelligent, then I am rich, then I am poor, then I am stressed, then I am getting an opportunity, then I am not getting an opportunity, and a long list of the thoughts. They come together. They create a false personality around me, and which claims I have a lot of things to do. I'm totally depressed. Even it says, why don't you know that? I was busy, absolutely busy. That's why I'm not attending your session. Don't attend the session. I'm busy. Think of this. Delusion, mistaken identity, error in perception. Even just now, if your mind thinks that this guy is a teacher, instead of receiving the knowledge, you have already created a gap. It is an idea, it is a thought that I am a teacher or you are a seeker. Both are ideas. So the master says, pay attention, extract the knowledge from the listening. If you repeat that listening while sitting alone, it helps you to live into the higher awareness. It is only the one consciousness that is being received and that is being given. So once we recognize that, we are already there. Let us start where practice. Eyes are closed. Eyes are closed. They're going to be, obviously, there's going to be some serious session. Doesn't mean that you have to have a big face. Eyes are closed and body is comfortable. And then we are also going to change the practice. Eyes are closed. Eyes plus consciousness. I'm just pointing you. I cannot recognize the eyes without consciousness. I cannot recognize that body is comfortable without consciousness. So I have to introduce to loosen the grip of that delusion. No, but you know what to do if I have a stress? Stress plus consciousness. And that is where this mantra takes over the mind. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. May there be happiness for all you. Do you see that? Happiness is a common factor. Lot of animals and the plants and the lives, every object, until we recognize that element. We only recognize that element after the purity of the mind. If your mind is still complaining about your anxiety, stress, duality, and a conflict, obviously you are not a seeker. I'm not pointing to anyone. I'm just saying you have to recognize yourself. Sarvesham, Sarvesham, Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham, Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham, Shantir Bhavatu. May there be a peace for a peace plus consciousness, body plus consciousness, listening plus consciousness. You see, now, in order to get rid of that, listening plus consciousness, part of the body plus consciousness, I believe you are getting it. It's very important. at this stage of the journey. The body is changing, mind is changing, thoughts are changing, but consciousness remains the same. It is one that has become the peace consciousness. You see, I'm giving a different interpretation for you to assimilate. Sarvesham Puranam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Puranam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Puranam Bhavatu. In the beginning, you have received this mantra with the dryness of intellect. And now, because you recognize it, your mind becomes emotional, not sensitive, emotional towards the journey. Oh, I am complete in myself. What a great idea. What a great understanding. Let me see. Let me find out. I am consciousness. If you have really attended those sessions, really, you will find it. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. May there be auspiciousness for all, because the existence is complete in itself. So it is constant offering the grace and the blessing to all of us, all the time, even when we are in deep sleep. Do you think it is the physiological functioning that is keeping me alive? If it is so, no, there is something more than that. And that entity is what we say the real self or the spiritual consciousness. Now, as we have been doing it, I'll continue to change. So now we will go for the breathing, looking deep inside the forehead in the space. Looking deep inside the forehead in the space. Good. And you'll pick a point in the space. We are doing this breathing for a purpose to gain a tremendous focus to recognize that separation. And dropping Om Shanti there. So when you drop Om Shanti, it means you don't force it. You don't do it in a haste. Om, pause, Shanti, pause, Om, Shanti. And then you start breathing from the rib cage, squeezing and expanding the ribs while inhaling and exhaling. Continue, my friends, squeezing, expanding, and contracting of the rib cage with the breathing, dropping Om Shanti. Body lives, continues to be in a state of comfort and steadiness, and the journey continues. Possibly now there is no chance of falling into sleep. Sleep is another delusion, especially during the practice. Continue. Om Shanti, stillness in the body continues. And squeezing and expansion of the rib cage continues with the breath. That is also a kind of self absorption. And stop it. Besides recognizing the changes, the experiences, bring your awareness at the flow of the nostrils. Recognize which flow is less or more. If they are equal, continue to enjoy that flow of the breath and let our higher consciousness do the work. that is the that is the idea, the inspiration of a seeker. Now I'm not doing anything. I'm just aware of the movement of the breath. I'm just recognizing the flow of the breath. And let me see what happens. You see, let me see, that me is soft. It is humility. It is not ego. Remember that. And I have already told you that if it is, one flow is less, you pay attention there. So go back again inside the forehead. Om Shanti continues and start with the belly breathing, longer breath. You inhale little longer into the belly, means the lower lobes of the lungs, the diaphragmatic breathing. Don't start stretching our own knowledge. It's very clear. Belly breathing is diaphragmatic breathing. The belly expands, it is diaphragm goes down. So we use the metaphor for belly breathing. Continue that. Longer breath into the belly, expansion and contraction of the belly. Om Shanti continues. Stillness in the body continues. Stillness in the body also continues, my friends. Stillness, belly, breathing, Om Shanti, everything is happening in the field of awareness. When you recognize that you are already separated, you are not in a delusion, even in active phase. We'll go deeper into understanding that. And stop this. Allow the breath to return to normal. Recognize any resistance that you had while breathing. Recognize the changes in the sensation and go back to the flow of the breath. Recognize if both the flow are equal, enjoy that state. So when you have a flow of the breath that continues for a longer period, you'll feel the vibration in the spine. It has to be. Or we have kind of self absorption. Just recognizing that. And going back inside the forehead, Om Shanti, deep inside the forehead in the space. And now start breathing both from the belly and the rib cage. It means you do the long and the hissing breath. First, you inhale into the belly, continue to inhale into the ribs, you continue to exhale from the belly and from the rib cage. Fact is that if we regulate this third type of the breathing, we can experience the flow of the nostrils always remains equal. We'll pay more attention in our journey. There is always some resistance in long, deep in the hissing breath because that takes a long time to progress into that step. But we need not to worry. In spite of the resistance, we continue. And stop it. Recognize any resistance that changes. Bring your awareness on the flow of the nostril. Be there. Check if the flow is equal. Well, otherwise, if the flow is less from either nostril, just pay attention there and see how the flow becomes equal. Sometimes it takes time. So at present, we are only spending 1 minute to see if the flow becomes equal or not. We'll be spending more time. We're just getting an understanding. Now we will introduce the nyasa in a different way. That nyasa ultimately takes us to the equal flow inside. So what we do in nyasa, you take a little gentle, deeper, slow, silent breath. So as you inhale, move the mind from the crown of the head, going inside to the tailbone, singing Om Shanti. While exhaling, you move the mind from the tailbone, going up, reaching to the top of the head. And the majority of you already know, we top of the head symbolically is known as the Shiva. And then the point in the tailbone is known as Shakti or so there. Our main focus, natural awareness, is movement of the mind, awareness of the spine. How? Just imagine. A little imagination is required here. And Om Shanti. Mantra is the same. We need not to use other mantras. Only one mantra will do. Mentally you are singing. So it is another way to withdraw the sense organ inside, living in the mind. Shanti. Now leave that also. Go to a triangle in the cave of your heart. Visualize of any color but equilateral triangle. And you already know the three-pointed awareness. Move the mind on each side of a triangle, dropping Om Shanti. So side of a triangle, movement of the mind, dropping Om Shanti, clockwise, anti-clockwise. And you have to judge. You feel the sink. The moment you feel this thing, push the mind by singing Om from the center of the triangle inside the cave of the heart. Mind seemingly stops. Shanti, do nothing. Means you enter into the state of doing nothing, not by the will of the mind, not by the will of the intellect, as if it is happening naturally. Some unknown force helps you to be absorbed. I think I'm making myself clear. You're also observing, and knower in you is observing, are you singing Om Shanti or are you in a hurry? So that will tell you the impurities of the mind and the still the obstacles are there. It's a self check and it's a conscious journey. You know fully what you are doing. Drop this, go to the Japa Om Shanti. Did you notice one thing? We carried Om Shanti throughout the journey with a different situation, condition, and state of the mind. You have to reflect on that. Om Shanti. Now, Om Shanti is done on the 16 segments of a finger. You already know, you all know. You have done the previous practices. So, Om Shanti on each segment of the four fingers without touching it. And the idea behind is that all the sense organs lives in the mind is doing their respective function. It's not that you are habitual of dropping Om Shanti. For example, you say Om, you have a heightened state of awareness, and then the mind stays for a while, and then it says Shanti. In other time, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. So we are also looking for that. You're 100% sure Om, sense of touch, sense of speech, sight, everything is happening in the mind. Shanti. Your way of dropping Om Shanti maybe for a small period, for a longer period, it doesn't make any difference. What is very important that you are aware. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences. If you have any question, you most welcome. How are you, Stephen?
I'm good. Thank you. Extremely peaceful. I was absorbed from the moment closed our eyes, and it was a very calm, wonderful experience. Thank you.
Beautiful. Remember, when all the delusion at the moment of practicing the meditation is gone, in spite of you have a tremendous pain in the body, the mind will definitely be absorbed. I'm just throwing some ideas for you. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you. Yeah, it was very, very good. The lesson, the takeaway for the lesson for me was, living in that state of awareness. And so I took that into the practice. And anytime I had a thought come up, I thought to myself, I'm staying in awareness. That's delusion. Go away.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Just had a very, very deep, peaceful meditation, extremely deep.
Beautiful. Yes, what David said, I have to think in that way. I get obsessed with some idea, some people, something, some event, plus awareness. That is what I said. So David has translated in a different way. That too is good. Just think. Think in your mind. How are you, Jerry?
Sorry, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, the meditation was deep. The nostril breathing was even. The mind was very content to just be following the lesson, the words, the meditation. Nothing distracted me. I did like the idea of the awareness of all the 5 sense organs and how we could be overloaded by them easily. And so if we constantly remind ourselves that we're not any of those sensations that are happening or that feedback that we're getting from our sense organs, then we have to live. So,
Yeah.
but we can remind ourselves that we're not that.
Self-remembering is the 7th of the 8 Four Noble Paths of Buddha. And self-remembering is another definition of mindfulness. So you rightly said that we have to remind ourselves. Why we have to remind ourselves? Because the sense organs traps us into the world of objects. It may be infatuation, it may be I get absorbed, it may be it is because of that sense organs through the mind and the consciousness going into the world creates some sense of relationship. There the delusion comes. We have to get out of it. Wonderful. Thank you. We are going a little deeper. I gave a contest today. So how are you, Christina?
Thank you. I appreciated the rosary bead and the string analogy, and noticed being able during the practice to be able to come back to that consciousness, almost as if there was a string of consciousness inside of me.
Yeah, thank you. That rosary and the string inside the rosary, your mind got a clarity. So that's why we use those metaphors. You see that now expand that metaphor. You have a string, you have beads all there. One bead is stress, other bead is pleasure, third bead is relationship, fourth bead is honey, fifth bead is go on, go on, go on. What you have experienced yesterday, just put that. But what is the reality? Reality is the consciousness, not any bead. I just expanded that. It just came to my mind. How are you, Brandy?
I'm good, thanks. I kind of did sort of similar to what David did. I when things were coming up and a lot came up during my meditation, I just kept thinking like whatever it was plus consciousness.
Yeah.
And so then so I didn't really do away with it. I just put the conscious, like I just recognized the consciousness with it, and it was helpful.
Yeah. Plus you add plus consciousness. And the moment you add it, you are separating yourself from the delusion. So I'm just translating the teachings of these great masters in my own way. I hope this should help you. So where are you, Dennis?
It was a calm and peaceful experience, and one thing I noticed was related to the technique of the meditation, the pause between the Om Shanti. I noticed that if there is no pause, then it is much easier for the mind to start just habitual repetition of the mantra and think about something else. Plus or minus consciousness doesn't matter, but think about something else. And when I force the mind to do the pause after Om and after Shanti, then it's much harder for the mind to go somewhere else.
You see, that is why we all share our experiences. Each one's mind shares differently, and that is helpful for our evolution. So he is perfectly right, because the moment why the mind becomes habitual, because it loses the pause. Why it loses the pause? Because it has other impressions to take care of. And then the mind comes outside. You are doing Om Shanti, but mind is already outside, traveling in different directions. That's another way to understand it. So, how are you, Sam?
Good. Word today was peaceful. Always interesting when we start changing something up after such a long period of time. There's always a different adaptation period. And that was about it.
Yes, to tell you frankly, we should also, adaptation is also one bead. We have to find the string. We have to find that string. So I just translate your expressions in a different way. How are you, Samir? Oh, we have Terry also, yes. How are you, Samir?
Sir, it was totally dark. I was deep into meditation, and it was totally means no thoughts were there, nothing.
Good. Very good. Very good. Let's live into that state. How are you, Terry? I did not see the Terry. That's why I see the no, no, yes, no, no. Anyhow, you can speak. And you can speak, Terry. Yes, yes, no problem.
Yes.
I know.
I'm just having a little physical difficulty, so I'm just listening. But I'm not very. I don't
Good.
really know what to say.
No need to say anything. Just do it, repeat it again and again. Once I send you the file. How are you, Ashok? We don't hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear it? Sir, we are the consciousness, and combining all the consciousnesses and the universe, that is called the super consciousness. And the difference between the two looks because of the delusion. And
I know.
delusion is um, delusion is removed by the practice, we can say.
Yes, you're right. You're right. First, we start that there are many consciousnesses, as if we are 10 people.
Yeah.
So it appears that there are 10 consciousnesses.
They appear. That is a delusion.
That is the delusion. You are right. Yes, I'm
sir.
giving words to your mouth. So that is the delusion. So once we understand, when you look at your honey, it is the one consciousness. So does the right hand can fight with the left hand? No. So
Thank you, sir.
that is good. Thank you very much. That is all for today. We'll meet again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.